Well, let the show begin, which is appropriate today because we are talking about the fun businesses, the ones that make us smile, shed a tear, the ones that can even make life worth living. And they, the creative industries, are dying thanks to COVID-19. This is Roundtable. Can we survive without entertainment? Sure, but life wouldn't necessarily be enjoyable. Or is entertainment essential, both to our well-being and our economy?
The coronavirus is changing the art and cultural landscape of the world from New York, Paris to London. A recent study by Oxford Economics has found that the creative industries will be hit twice as hard by coronavirus as the UK economy overall, risking a cultural catastrophe for theatres, music venues and the broader culture sector. Revenues are forecast to drop by $90 billion in 2020, a 30% fall, while job losses are predicted to hit more than 400,000. Almost 100 creative figures signed a letter calling for the UK government to take action to prevent the demise of the sector. The pandemic has brought theatres to its knees. Theatres do not have the money to operate viably with physical distancing. It is difficult to see venues opening before the end of the year. On Sunday, the UK government announced a $1.96 billion fund to support package to protect cultural, arts and heritage institutions. Many have been turning to digital platforms and delivering Zoom performances and workshops for their audiences. But with performances in front of packed houses apparently a long way away, can the industry bounce back from this crisis?
Well, as you saw in that report on Sunday, the UK government announced emergency funding for the arts and cultural sector. The conversation you're about to see was recorded before that announcement, but here and in many other countries, there still is concern about the damage being done to the creative industries. Well, I'm very pleased to say we can welcome to our virtual round table out of Birmingham, Stephen Maddock, Chief Executive of the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, which has had to cancel at least 70 concerts. In London, we say hello to Chichi Nwanoku, founder, artistic and executive director of Chineke, who's been collaborating with orchestras around the world to provide online performances. And we go to Nottingham. Jordan Laidley's their performance artist who was due to go to Italy before COVID hit. He hasn't managed it. He'll tell us what he's been doing in the meantime. Great to have you on the programme, Stephen. Let me ask you, first of all, City of Birmingham Symphony, big business. How has this hit you?
Well, it's been a really unprecedented shock to our orchestra, which was founded exactly 100 years ago in 1920. So we had a huge year planned of 5 overseas tours and a whole load of celebratory events to mark the orchestra centenary. And in fact, when the crisis hit in March, we were just less than 48 hours away from going on the first of those tours, a 2-week tour to Europe that was due to finish in Italy. So we were doing everything we could to make the tour kind of COVID secure. At which point, all of Europe started closing down, and all the concerts got cancelled. So we didn't go, and since then the orchestra hasn't played a note. So since the 10th of
Well, I mean,
March,
I think I'm right in saying you've got 600 people working in your choirs alone. You'll tell me that the total number of people that you use, most of them are freelancers. Did you just have to say that's it? We can't pay you anymore?
Well, so the permanent members of the orchestra are salaried employees. So luckily, we've been able to use the furloughing scheme, the job retention scheme. But all the people who sing in our choirs and play in our youth orchestras are amateurs. So they've not been able to make music. And then we also work with lots and lots of freelancers, both in the orchestra, but also, of course, all our conductors, our soloists, a whole lot of people who've been booked for work, which now isn't happening. So some of them have been able to get government help, but lots of them not. So it has been sort of a creative impact for them of not being able to give the concerts that they planned, but also a big financial impact for them and for the organisation.
Chichi, you're a double bassist as well as being the founder of Chineke, and we're going to talk in a moment about a particular project that you got into with Sphinx. We're going to see some of it. It is absolutely fantastic. But have you been busier this time than normal, or what?
Most certainly. I think most musicians and creative people just treat a challenge like this as another form of it has inspired even more creativity, and that's why the first thing I thought of was I need to play with not just sitting here in my music room practicing, but colleagues overseas, and reach even bigger audiences, because here we are trapped in our rooms, not allowed. The very essence of what a musician needs to do is to communicate with audiences as well as our colleagues. And therefore, I went straight to Detroit by email and asked the Sphinx would they join us in this over the ocean collaboration, which was we played a piece by Samuel Coleridge Taylor, the Othello suite.
And we are going to see some of that now. 81, I think it was, in 9x9 grids. Let's hear a little bit of it. Let's play it now.
I had 72 audio tracks, that's the 81 performers minus the 9 silent conductors. And each of these were checked for background noise and cleaned up where necessary. Then they were laid out for synchronization and mixing, just as if it was a normal large-scale multi-mic'd recording.
Okay, what I wanted to ask you, we'll pick up on this. That is absolutely amazing. And I watched a video also about how long it took to put it all together. It is a fantastic piece of art, as well as brilliant playing.
Oh yes, well all these incredible musicians across the globe. I've been so fortunate having created Chineke, which was to provide a sort of spotlight and a showcase the enormous amount of outstanding talent and ability there is amongst Black, Asian and ethnically diverse classical musicians who we don't normally see in the industry, and all of our eyes have been widely opened because of this. And on this particular project, I just thought it was so important that we had some conductors, because they're all hurting as much as we are, not being able to perform.
9 of them.
9 conductors, that's right. I just thought, they're all swishing around air conducting, but we were all playing to a click track.
And in fact, what they're actually doing, as I looked at, I became quite fascinated, is they're all conducting in a totally different manner. But that's a conversation for another day. And I want to bring up in just a moment, not right now, the letter that you wrote to the Prime Minister about the situation. But let's bring Jordan on stage in this. You were about to go to Italy. It was an immersive performance you were going to do with, I think, members of the audience coming on stage. That had to be cancelled, obviously. Yeah. How have you been filling your time? I mean, you've been earning any money?
So what I've pretty much been doing is so at first it was all a negative, and then I thought, what can I do? Let me make this negative into a positive. So I started off just jotting down anything that I saw, anything that I was feeling, then decided to continue writing old stuff that I'd started. Then with the company Jellyfish Theatre, we decided to do a lot of read-throughs, and we knew we wasn't going to go to Italy and all the other places we was going to perform, but we thought, let's just see what we can create or get into right now, so that when time does come, we've got new stuff, more material. Even with myself back home, I just thought, why not?
But there has to be an outlet for that, and isn't that part of the problem at the moment, that it's very difficult to find one?
It is. What we started to do is think of ideas of how we can actually perform through maybe a Zoom conversation, and so far we're working on a few things right now. So I feel like it's been a positive at the same time as a negative, because if not, we wouldn't have decided to create more things, get more ideas, and start trying to venture out more. So for me, I'm
But
trying to take it as a positive as much as possible.
yeah, I know that sounds great, but it can be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Is it tough? You feel pressure?
You know what? I like pressure. Yeah. So a lot of people will say it is tough, and it is tough. But I feel like the more I work with the pressure, the less stress it seems. Yeah,
Well, let's
if
hear
that makes
from
sense.
somebody who's not finding it that difficult. Rihanna, she was in Australia. She was an actress. She was the front end of the horse in War Horse. Suddenly, everything taken from underneath her. She was about to go on a world tour, and she's not finding it that easy.
You plan your whole year around having that contract. I knew what job I was aiming for afterwards. And then, unfortunately, coming back home and having no prospects of a job, especially in the theatre industry, it's had a huge effect on my mental health. And, you know, I really was loving the tour. I miss the cast. I miss the show so much. I was really doing my dream, you know, everything that I've kind of worked really hard towards. So it's such a difficult time for everybody at the moment in the theatre industry, and you know the way things are going, it's not looking like a bright future for it either. It's not like this will finish and we can all get back on our feet. Unfortunately, it's not looking like it's going to be that way. So I'm just kind of sending my love to everybody else, and you know we will get through this together.
That was Rihanna Ash talking about what fears she has, not just for herself, but also for the industry as a whole, saying that theatre performances are never going to be the same. Stephen, what do you think? Is she right?
Well, I think nobody knows at the moment. I mean, I am an optimist. I believe that we will get back to performance in large spaces, which is the thing that's so difficult at the moment because of the social distancing. So that's theatres and concert halls. But it's not going to be quickly, and audiences are going to need a lot of encouragement to come back. And of course, by the time this is possible, lots of things in our industry may have changed a lot. Lots of theatres, orchestras, concert halls are actually saying that they're very close to failing financially at the moment, to going out of business. So of course it's very important, with whatever government support can be provided, and we're kind of waiting on that at the moment, that there will still be businesses, buildings, companies that we can go back to. It's one
I
thing
think
for the
your income has
individual
gone
to get
down
through this
from
period, but also we will need the buildings and the people and the institutions.
your income's dropped by half, perhaps. Well, that's obviously a
Oh,
guess at the moment. But
the
11 million
orchestra's
to 5
income has
million, or what?
dropped. Yeah, the orchestra's income has dropped from what would have been about 11 million turnover this year to about 4.5, something like that. So we've lost more than half our income, and a lot of that was overseas earnings that we are earning as effectively a cultural export, and which is simply not possible at the moment. It's very
Going to
challenging.
fold, or can you survive this?
We've still getting our government funding, and we still get the funding from the job retention scheme. But we are very fortunate in that we have fantastically loyal and generous fundraising income. So from our members and our sort of philanthropic supporters, and they have really stepped up to help us through this period, because basically all the other income comes from ticket sales and touring, which is simply not possible at the moment. All of that earned income is gone basically to zero for the last 4 months.
And Chichi, let me ask you. I know, Stephen, you signed this letter that Chichi sent to the Prime Minister. What did you say? What kind of response have you got?
Zero response, which I'm incredibly disappointed about. I do know that he's engaged with 4 performers in the industry. Actually, all 4 of those people signed the letter. But the thing that combines the four people that he spoke to is that none of them depend on a job in an orchestra. They're all soloists or conductors, and quite celebrity really. And I really think he needs to start to listen to the industry. I gave him 7 points to think about. I wasn't asking him to try and figure out what to do, but I started by suggesting that we all come together we need to decolonize the curriculum. I want him to fund a system where there is absolutely inclusion of money put into giving groundwork to those underrepresented sections of our society, get education back into all of the schools, not just the fee-paying schools, but all of the state schools. We've got to turn over the education system. That's absolutely high on the agenda.
And you think it's more difficult at the moment for black and minority ethnic musicians than it is for white musicians? For what reason? And I'll come to you. I'll come to you on that in Jordan in just a moment. But Chichi, yeah,
yes.
Sure.
Well, let's just say that it's not cheap to learn an instrument, and let's just say that those people living in so economically challenged areas who go to in economically challenged schools tend to have a higher ratio of ethnic diversity, and so yes, that's one of the prime reasons why we see less numbers getting this incredibly important musical education.
And that's what Chineke is about, isn't it? It's about black and minority ethnic classical musicians. Jordan, let me ask you, since we're talking about minorities here, you're a black actor. Were you finding work hard to come by before this, or is that just the nature of the acting profession? Has it got worse because of this, or what?
Me personally, I'd like to believe it has gotten worse. It was hard before, and I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, I used to get this quite a lot." It's easier for you because there's more roles out there for you, but it's not the case. It's the case that if that's true, okay, let's say that's true, but there's also quite a lot of us fighting for those one role that's very small. Now, with this whole situation that's kicked off with the whole pandemic, is now that is now decreased quite a lot. So the parts that are going out there, it's like people want to go to their go-to people. When I say go-to people, it's mostly celebrities or someone that's got credits. Now, for those that are like, for example, just came out of drama school or setting off in the industry, they could be the next big thing, but they're not getting that opportunity. And it just so happens that people like myself are going to have to fight even more just to get noticed. Like it was hard enough to like fight just to get a no in an audition room. It's going to be even harder just to get the opportunity.
So do you understand what Rihanna was saying about the pressures?
I completely understand. And it's just really heartbreaking to know that this is the situation that we're in.
Yes, Stephen, in fact, anybody. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I took action. I'd already had a 35-year career, and so everyone knew who I was, and so I was able to say, this is what I'm going to do, and people took me seriously. I created a whole organization to highlight these people, and of course I want all of the orchestras to start taking seriously the incredible talent. Why are the orchestras not using all of the talent that is available to them? And it's not just a case of doing us a favor, it's a case of giving people an opportunity to show what they can do. Give them the opportunity to them,
I do
so
understand
they can prove that they can do the job.
This is not necessarily the route we plan to go down on this program about BME exclusively when it comes to the creative industries. It's about the pressures on the industries or the industry itself. And when you have somebody like the people who wrote that open letter to the Prime Minister, Ed Sheeran among them, Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, this is an extract from it. Until these businesses, all creative arts, music mainly, can operate again, which is likely to be 2021 at the earliest, government support will be crucial to prevent mass insolvencies and the end of this world-leading industry. What do they reckon, Stephen? £4.5 billion a year to the British economy, more than 200,000 jobs. Is it in the sort of danger that's been presented there?
Yes, it absolutely is. And actually, this is where we've been, to an extent, a victim of our own success in this country. In most of the rest of Europe, cultural life, including the orchestras, is much more heavily subsidized by the state. So it's actually been able to weather this storm much better than has been possible in this country, where we have all taken steps in the last few decades to become much more self-reliant, which is a good thing generally in good times. If you earn most of your money yourself, that's a good thing, but it makes you very, very vulnerable at a time when you are completely stopped from earning. And I think that's been the challenge right across the sector, really, and that applies to the West End Theatre in London. It applies to arena venues doing rock shows, as well as it does to sort of my corner of the industry with classical music. And I think just picking up on Chichi's point and Jordan's, the challenge we are now going to face is that there's a dearth of opportunities for young people to get involved in the arts if they do not already have a privileged background. So absolutely there are issues to do with ethnicity, but that, as Chichi has already said, overlaps a lot with economic status. And so one of the things we're doing at the CBSO, for instance, is we are starting next year a school in Sandwell, which is one of the most deprived boroughs in the country and with a relatively high BAME population. And we're starting a school that will be a state school, a comprehensive, but with a music specialism, so that every child who goes there gets an opportunity to learn an instrument. And it's that kind of opportunity.
That's a fantastic idea. And I do know Sandwell. It deserves to have something like that. I want to ask each one of you, July the 4th for opening of pubs, some venues, cinemas, etc., but theatre, I don't know, we're talking maybe the autumn, maybe October, something like that. Is that too late? What do you think, first of all, Stephen? Finish off your point on that.
I think we desperately need some clarity on all of this. I cannot see the logic in it being okay for me to spend 10 hours on a flight across the Atlantic sat right next to somebody, but not okay to spend an hour or two in a concert hall while wearing a mask sat a little bit further away. There's been a lot of inconsistency. I know this is difficult for the government to sort this out because it's not an area they normally deal with, but the clock is ticking and we do desperately need some clarity on this.
Yeah, Oliver Dowden, the Culture Secretary, Chichi, saying, I'm pushing hard for the dates and to give you a clear roadmap back. Very difficult decisions, which we know have saved lives. He's referring to social distancing there. Encouraged by that or not?
Well, I feel very insecure with the leadership right now anyway, but I don't know. It's so confusing because it's not consistent. And of course, none of us wants to put ourselves in danger by being, if they say, right, you can go into the pub now, but it's what happens when you're in the pub. We want to get back on stages and to play to live audiences, but we've got to have the social if we have to stay apart from each other, we have to stay apart from each other, and we just got to get that sorted out. So
what is the future then going to be? Is it going to be far more digital, the sort of performance we saw Chineke
exactly.
doing with
I think
Sphinx?
We've become
and you can make money out of that, do you think?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I wanted to try to put money back into the pockets, because our orchestras, we're not a national portfolio organisation, and every single one of us is freelance, so zero income for us right now. And I was trying to find ways to put some money into the pockets of our players, and so every single person got paid for that. And we've done a few more digital recordings, which you'll be able to enjoy very, very soon. And there's lots more in the planning. We're going to come out of this much more digital savvy. We've just got to be ready to be flexible with whatever we're told to do.
Yeah. Okay, Jordan, you're relatively young. I've seen some of your show reel. You're out in the open in a couple of the scenes. You're with other actors this close. Is there a new world out there that you as a performer could live in and make a living in?
Yeah, I like to say yes, because you've got to be open. Anything is possible, but it is going to be very difficult, especially going from the training of receive, respond, get into the feel of what's real. A lot of it is not going to be real, and it's going to damage a lot of performances in my mind. But then we don't know yet. It could work. It might be the best thing. It might not be.
Well, nobody really knows. I said at the beginning of the program, can we survive without entertainment? For sure we can, but it wouldn't necessarily be that enjoyable life. So as we leave the program, we are going to give people something to enjoy. We're going to go back to that collaboration. What was it called again? Chichi, over the ocean or something?
We called it Music Across the Ocean because it was literally, the Atlantic in between us. And
Music Across the Ocean. Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed. And I don't know if the conductors got paid for it, but if they did, they were very lucky because they'd really didn't have to break a sweat.
They got exactly the same as the players, not a penny more.
Stephen, Chi-Chi, Jordan, good luck. Thank you very much indeed. And we're going to end the program with a little bit more music. Thanks for watching.